our story about hunter-gatherers back to the past. Let's begin.
Chapter 1, the beginning. Bryce lets out a big yawn. It is 9:27 and he just woke up. He plops onto his couch and turns on his favorite game, Cave Runner. He has 2 minutes left on the timer when there is a weird glitch. He gets sucked into the game and is very scared. His bedroom, which is the sky all around him, would soon disappear. He screamed for his sleeping sister Brianna, who ran in. Though she played Cave Runner a lot with Bryce, she wasn't as good. She picked up the controller with 1 minute and 32 seconds left and then got sucked in too. Each 30-minute Cave Runner round was 5 years for the characters. When and if they got out, Bryce and Brianna would be 19 and 22 in game years. They decided not to worry, but find a way out of the cave. They needed to know where they were. They were doomed for now.
Then Bryce and Brianna met a man named Musso that greeted them. Along with Musso was his father, Rumpelstiltskin, their daughter named Joella, and Joella's mom, Pentoda. After Musso and Rumpelstiltskin took Bryce and Brianna to their cave, Pentoda was going to join them but had to collect berries and took Joella with her. They saw the cave. There was animal skin everywhere. It was a lot different from their house back in Los Angeles. Musso had agreed to let Bryce and Brianna live in the cave. Of course they were grateful, but it wasn't like home.
Bryce and Brianna talked to Musso, Pentoda, and Rumpelstiltskin and learned where they were. They also learned that since Cablepodia and Pinkerton are connected with the sky and near the game, they speak differently than the other tribes. The other tribes would scream, ah. After 30 minutes of talking with them, they were ready to start making dinner. Okay, where's the fridge, said Brianna. I'm starving, Bryce replied. Be patient, said Musso. Soon we will have a delicious woolly mammoth to feast on. So let's go hunting. Hunting? Bryce blurted out in a trembling voice. Ha, I have to gather berries with Pentoda and Joella, Brianna said crossly.
Okay. Chapter 4, Hunting. Musso picked up his spear, made with stone, and a long stick. Rumpelstiltskin picked up his pointed stick. Dad, you're 74 and you can't go hunting. Come on, the only person that is this old is another person from the other tribe in Hibbleton, and he's about to die. Don't worry about it. I want to show you how it's done. So the 3 headed into the Froggy Butt Forest with all eyes open. I see it, I see it, I see the woolly mammoth, Bryce screamed. The woolly mammoth was running in their direction. They all pulled their spears a little higher. The mammoth knocked Rumpelstiltskin's spear out of his hand. The mammoth picked up its feet and was about to crush Rumpelstiltskin. Then it gently put down its feet. Rumpelstiltskin let out a sigh of relief. Then the woolly mammoth took one big mouth open and ate Rumpelstiltskin. He swallowed his whole. Rest in peace, Rumpelstiltskin. Back at the camp, Pentoda was busy gathering berries, but Joella showed Brianna all of her cave paintings. Bryce and Musso emerged from the wood with parts of a woolly mammoth and Rumpelstiltskin's dead, bloody body, with a couple cells around it. Let's have a feast, said Pentoda. Pentoda handed out raspberries and helped cook the woolly mammoth. After their meal, they all went to sleep in their cabins.
Chapter 5. The years went by relatively quickly, and then in the blink of an eye, they were 19 and 22. In 30 minutes, they would be 14 and 15 again. Bryce went on his last hunting trip with Musso. Pentoda made a blanket from lion fur as a surprise for Brianna, who was picking berries with Joella. When she saw the blanket, she knew she would miss Pentoda. Brianna would secretly leave the blankets until it was snowing. She spent her last minutes drawing all of them on the cave wall. Soon it was time to say their goodbyes. Brianna hugged Joella, and then Bryce and Brianna went teleporting back to Bryce's room. Want to play again, said Bryce. Heck no, Brianna said. They both laughed in unison. I loved our time in the Stone Age, but I'm happy to be back, said Brianna. Me too, said Bryce.
A day in the life of a hunter-gatherer. Once upon a time, there was a hunter-gatherer named Jim. He lived with his family and friends. They lived in a house made of sticks, stones, and hay and mud. At the time, it was the Stone Age, so almost everything they made was out of stone. This story is about how hunter-gatherers lived, hunted for food, and entertained themselves.
It was a cold winter day when Jim, Luke, and Jesus went out for hunting. They found a giant mammoth also looking for food. They suddenly started charging at him with the sharp obsidian spears. They attacked him with all their might. Finally, as they finished it, they took the meat and carried it back to the village. On their way back, they gathered sticks to start a fire and cook the meat.
Once they got home, they put the meat down and left the cooking for the women. Scarlet and Genesis started the fire, and Esperanza and Chelsea put the meat on the fire. As the meat was cooking, they danced and played instruments made out of bones. A couple hours later, they split the meat and started eating their medium rare steak.
Hang on, stop.
As they finished their steak, they were already full and tired. To end their day, they found the nearest cave and started drawing on the walls with colorful rocks. They drew their favorite things to do. For example, the men drew themselves killing giant mammoths and deer, and the women drew themselves looking and playing instruments. At this point, they were too tired to do anything else. So they walked back home. They got home and went to sleep in their beds made of animal skin.
The day in the life of a hunter-gatherer. Emily and Willow have been best friends since they were 8 years old. Now they're 12. They would like to go to the lake and fish every morning. They started getting sick of fishing, so they went to go hunting. The challenge was finding food. They need to find some meat. Look ahead, a deer. Finally, food, they said. They dug a hole and then set the trap. They chased the deer around the corner into the hole. Yay, they caught lunch. After they took their weapons and started slicing the deer's body, next they gathered the deer pieces and went home. They made a fire in their cave and started to roast the deer. In the end, the girls are exhausted by the end of the day. They were really happy that they made delicious food. They ate leftovers for lunch and dinner too. They were really tired and so happy that they made it by themselves. That is the life of them. That's a day in the life of a hunter-gatherer.
Hi, today I will be telling the tale of Abraham Washington and how he survived a day in the life as a hunter-gatherer. I traveled with members of my small village. While traveling, we struggled through cold weather as we searched for land. We hardly have food when we finally find land to live on. Later, the other men and I went hunting for food while the women gathered berries for dinner. Their children will help their mothers with tasks around the village. We returned to the village with a deer. I continued on to the caves and started painting on the walls. Through my painting, I documented our trip. We need to make more tools for the village. First, I grabbed string, stone, and a stick. I put the stone on the stick and fastened it with the string to make a spear. We also used other materials to craft other tools. We told the stories of our hunting trip today. We told how fast some of the animals were, and because of this, we barely caught food. There were other animals which made it more dangerous after we went to our huts and went to bed. That was one day in the life as a hunter-gatherer. Thank you.
Quincy's Dream. Hi, my name is Quincy, and I'll be telling you a story about my longest dream. In this dream, I went to the Stone Ages for what felt like 24 hours. This dream was clear, and I could remember it easily. It wasn't blurry, and I felt like I was really there.
While I was there, I was very confused because my phone was gone. My clothes were different and my hair looked undone, messy, and long. When I asked them anything, they started yelling and screaming, speaking gibberish. My house was 10 times smaller, I had no running water, and there were no cars, no roads. I also needed to find food for breakfast.
There were berries and wheat piled next to a little weird stove in my tiny house. I decided to cook an egg from a chicken outside and eat some fruits with it. I was bored, so I made myself a bone necklace and sharpened my spear. By the time I was done sharpening my spear, it was already time to hunt with my new neighbors.
We were walking in the forest and one of my neighbors noticed a woolly mammoth. Suddenly I got pushed towards the beast and it started chasing me. I didn't know what the plan was. Was I bait, a sacrifice, or was I a distraction? Either way, I started running to the nearest cliff. My heart was racing, I was scared, terrified that it would catch up to me. I couldn't run anymore, I was out of breath, and this was the end of me, so I jumped.
I was falling at 65 miles per hour, but it felt like I was in slow motion. I felt scared, but calm and relieved at the same time. I thought all my problems were disappearing, and the end splat terrified me. While I was falling, my neighbors looked down at me, sad and blowing their spears. As I was about to hit the ground, I heard a weird noise, and suddenly, I was at my house with a backpack on my back. By Isaiah Nana and Raven Foley.
Hello, my name is Dawn, and this is my friend Faye. You might be asking, where are we, what are we, and how are we the chiefs of our own society? Let's start off the story 20 hours earlier. We woke up upon a woolly mammoth leather. Our fathers were still asleep, though. We went outside and saw our mothers gathering fruits and berries. We went to go do our job for our village. We helped our mothers a bit by gathering fruits. We then helped by forging weapons for ourselves and made clothes for our society. We then went to paint on the walls and keep them. We then made some music to goof off more. We then heard the horn of Chief so we went to go check it out.
The chief called out to the hunter-gatherers to tell them if you kill the biggest mammoth, you will become the chief of chiefs, because he was getting older. We started searching for the beast. It took forever. Thankfully, we found a pond with some beach fish. We then ate and continued. Finally, after a long noon, we finally found the mammoth. It spotted us and we chased after it. We kept chasing it. We then chased him to a cliff and cornered him, and then he fell down the cliff. We called for help to carry the mammoth. It almost fell off the cliff, but thankfully he didn't, and we all moved to the village. As you can see, we have been through a lot. It was dangerous, but me and Egg survived. Whatever danger throws at us, we will overcome it.
I walked into the garden out back. Hello, my name is Olivia. I live in a small village where every day is a struggle. My activities are tending and harvesting in the garden or going to game club. I booted up the game and I was immediately teleported to a small village in the Stone Age. I looked around and then a flash of light was in my face. Berries were all around me in the garden. As I saw a dirty old lady looked at me and handed me a basket. She pointed to the berries and said, "Pick more." I bent down and picked berries for hours and hours and hours until I heard cheering outside. And then I saw a massive mammoth. Everyone was cheering and jumping around, singing, dancing, and even playing some flutes that were made out of bones. I ran, jumping over the fence to get a piece of the mammoth. After eating, I went to my hut. That the old lady said that it would be mine. I looked up at the stars because there was a big, huge crack in the ceiling. So then the stars all aligned, and I had realized, man, this is going to be perfect. But don't worry, I'll get back to my old home. I said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm safe."